Hey there everybody, welcome to Crapgamer Reviews, the home of no rules reviews. You know, once or twice in a generation do you get the chance to play and review a game that takes us all back to a much simpler day and a much simpler time. Now today is my absolute pleasure to review God of War on the PlayStation 4, and this is by all means the absolute best, and I can't stress that enough, reason to own a PlayStation 4. Now, I'm a big God of War fan. I've loved the series on the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3, and to this day, my favorite PSP and Vita games are also God of War. Ironic, right? So, it's a fantastic series, but pretty much like with a lot of games born generations ago, it needed a fresh new update. The old mechanics and one-note characters, they needed a change, and Sony Santa Monica did just that. Now, the story of Sony Santa Monica themselves should get praise in and of itself. A studio where half its employees were laid off, a cancelled PS4 exclusive game, and a very uncertain future. Yet they managed to pull themselves together and put out what is largely regarded as the best single-player game of the entire generation. Now, from the ashes reborn to greatness, the greatness that is this game. And that's exactly what's been delivered here. So let's take a closer look at God of War on the PlayStation 4. Graphically, God of War matches up against anything else released this generation. Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, Shadow of the Colossus, you name it, and this game stacks up very nicely to it. Playing it on the PS4 Pro like I am, it gives you completely different options in terms of performance or resolution modes. Now personally, I picked resolution mode because I didn't think performance mode was as crisp on my 4K TV, but overall you can't go wrong either way. Now the character models, locations, and animations are all absolutely stunning. You'll be hard-pressed to find better on any platform. Occasionally a bit of a drop in frame rate, but overall nothing to hamper the fantastic one-of-a-kind experience. Now the new third-person over-the-shoulder camera angle was a pure stroke of genius, and it fits the game flawlessly and completely. It was definitely a gamble to change things up so drastically, especially considering this is an iconic franchise. But what they've accomplished is nothing short of astounding. As far as the gameplay is concerned, it's completely changed, but yet it manages to stay somewhat familiar. Gone is the fixed camera, and much of the third-person view is employed of what we have now over the shoulder. Also gone is the jumping mechanic, but trust me, you won't even notice it's gone. The developers seem to have taken the best bits from games such as Rise of the Tomb Raider, Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, and The Last of Us, and mixed them together in a fantastic game that outshines all the aforementioned games. Now the skill tree in the game is much more refined than the simple leveling up in previous God of War games. You also find and collect loot, and you can scrap it, and you can craft new armor and relics. Additionally, Atreus, or the boy, is now your companion for the game, but it isn't an escort mission by any means. He can't get hurt or damaged while you play, rather he assists you throughout the game, which is really cool. If you think about it, it's much more of a BioShock situation with the third one, where she helped you throughout the game. You can level up his skill tree to attack and stun enemies, and you can also command him to fire bows and arrow at enemies at the press of a button. It's really simple, and it's really cool. Once you get the hang of this combat, you'll wonder how you live without it. Honestly, it's so cool. It took me a little bit to get it down, but now that I have it down, it's amazing. Now the skill tree for yourself gives you different kinds of attacks, and you can also build up your rage meter, which can send Kratos into an epic spree of destruction. But also, very importantly, gone are the wacky save points from the previous God of War games, thankfully. Now the deep story of this game, which I won't spoil, well, I'll spoil as little as I can. Obviously this is the same Kratos as the other games, but he settled down and had a son, Atreus, who is obviously called Boy throughout the entire game. Now one thing of interest is it's no longer the old like Greek mythology, we're now in Norse mythology, so he's kind of hopping around. Gone is the Kratos that is just angry all the time, and we get a more subtle yet intriguing character. The father-son dynamic is absolutely amazing. At first I thought Atreus was a bit annoying, but then you start seeing that he's really just seeking his father's approval, just like many people in their day-to-day lives. Now the game does a great job of setting a tone, a very great tone, a very emotional tone, and you're drawn into it right from the start. Few games would I consider to be a work of art, but this is definitely one of them. You go on an absolute roller coaster of emotion with this game, and Sony Santa Monica deserve all the respect in the world for that. At the end of the day, you'll probably sink 25 to 30 hours into God of War. There's no season pass, there's no loot boxes to buy, there's no microtransactions, there's no needless grinding. It's just a fantastic game. the best single-player game of this generation in my humble opinion, and the #1 reason to own a PS4 has finally arrived. Very few times do we get a game of this caliber, and my best comparison is that God of War achieved what Tomb Raider did with the reboot in 2013. They took a solid franchise and turned it into a cinematic masterpiece. God of War gets a well-deserved 10 out of 10 and is highly likely to be Game of the Year. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.